Hi folks, it's Carlton from the Pharmacy Seeds Network. I've been meaning to get back to do this video for a long time. This video will be on how to use Google Earth. For those of you who don't know, I worked for a civil engineer and land surveyor for about 5 years, both in the field and in the office. We did a tremendous amount of precision mapping work, both for survey and for stakeout, for building new buildings and pools and all that sort of stuff. We worked interactively directly with zoning boards, Department of Health, the county clerk's office, and many other government local agencies in order to obtain accurate mapping data and to utilize that for implementing building codes and all that sort of stuff to make sure that our clients' buildings were within the letter of the law. So that is sort of my background on GIS. For those who don't know, GIS is Geographical Information Systems. It's basically mapping, and it's a combination of using mapping as well as information to provide really high quality, high detailed mapping. Some of the stuff we used was total station equipment, GPS equipment, and all sorts of other stuff that integrates between those two. Google Earth was one of the tools we used. We primarily use AutoCAD, and we worked in extreme precision. For the most part, our data was within 0.02 feet. And for those who don't know, that's about 1/4 of an inch for precision. And we could hold that precision across hundreds of acres. And that was both for elevation and horizontal precision. Anyway, this is just kind of a background. I wanted to get into some Google Earth stuff. I've meant to do this video for a long time. I had not gotten back to it. Recently, I was talking to someone on the radio, and they mentioned the measuring tool in Google Earth, and it reminded me that I've been planning to do a video for this for a long time, and I hadn't gotten to it. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first thing you'll need to do is get a copy of Google Earth that fits your operating system or your usage. You can do it on the web. I haven't tried Google Earth Mobile. I don't do mobile phone, smartphone, all that kind of stuff. The one I've worked with all along is Google Earth, and now Google Earth Pro on desktop is available to people without having to purchase it. When they first brought Google Earth Pro out, it was about $400 for a copy. So now it's free. So real quickly, you just go to google.com/earth/versions. Of course, I'll provide a link in the description. And in this case, for my computer, you would use download Google Earth Pro. You download it, install it. The routine is pretty basic program install stuff. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into Google Earth itself. And we'll go into some of the tools that are available on Google Earth and how to go about using them. So you can see on the left-hand side here, I have a bunch of places that are already logged in here. I'm not going to go to my personal places. We'll pick an arbitrary spot on the map and build some new measurements and data calculations and that sort of stuff. So I guess first of all, we just should go into the navigation part of it. With the hand here, you can move the globe around. If you left click and hold, you can slide back and forth, up and down. You can go anywhere you want on the globe. And then if you left click, hold, and move, and then let up as you're spinning, it'll spin much like a globe, which is kind of handy. You'll notice, because I've been playing around with it here, that now the United States is tilted away from its northern attitude. If you want to get the northern orientation back, you can just click on this icon up here for north, and it'll put your orientation right back to north. You can also navigate around using the tool here, as well as you can navigate up and down in your view of Google Earth as you zoom in. We'll get to that a little more as we get on with this. So let's just pick a spot on the map here. I don't know, let's do Red Hook, New York. So anything you type in, you can search. As soon as you hit enter, it'll take you to that spot. And you'll see there's a little mark here, and it tells you where you're at. So we'll just zoom into Red Hook real quick here, and we'll start off with one of the more basic tools. If you want to mark a point on the map, like say you find a place, well, here's one. This is St. Chris's. So you want to mark a spot on the map, you click that little yellow pin icon, and it brings up your target pin, and you'll notice it's flashing and it says untitled place mark. You can go up here and give it a name like Test St. Chris's. You'll notice the latitude and longitude are available right here to you. You can pick a style and color you want for your label or for your icon. I guess I'll just demonstrate any old color for that. We'll give the pin, say, a blue color. All right. Ugh, blue is horrible. Doesn't stand out. How about we go with green? All right. And then once you click OK, obviously that menu disappears, and now this pin is set on your map. At any time you want to save any places that you've worked on, you can go File, Save My Places, and you can save them. You can also save an image out of this. I guess I'll just show that while we're here. And there you go. Bang, you've saved an image. And you can pick where you want to save that image, like so. And now that image is saved. You can get back out of that by clicking the X next to the image. Now you're back into regular navigation. Now, say you wanted to find out what the distance was between 2 points, or you wanted to, well, we'll start out with simple. So the distance between 2 points, I guess I'll just go over this real briefly. You can see you can pick line, path, polygon, circle, 3D path, or 3D polygon. We're probably not going to get into the more in-depth stuff like 3D paths and 3D polygons, but we will do something as simple as a line. So first we'll start with a line. If you want to know, say, how long this spot in the parking lot is to the roadway, say, you'll see that's 0.05 miles, and it tells you what the heading is, and tells you map length versus ground length. There's a difference there. Map length would be the distance across the map. Ground length would be if you included the elevation changes, what the actual distance of travel would be. We'll get to that, a little more about that in a moment. And you can also select whatever you want: centimeters, meters, kilometers, inches, feet, yards. I like feet for most of the stuff I do because it's really just a relevant scale for most of the things that I'm doing. So for example, we'll just save that and we'll call that line measurement 1. So now that line is saved, and then if you want to keep that in your Google Earth, so the next time you open Google Earth, you can go File, Save My Places, and now both of these are saved in My Places on your Google Earth. So even if you close out of Google Earth and you open it back up, I'll even show you. And also it asks you if you want to save temporary places. I would say, yeah, hit save, unless you don't want to lose this stuff. So I'll just pull Google Earth back up here quick. As soon as I find it on my messy desktop. Here it is. All right, it's back. And those are the most recent saved places. So yeah, they're down at the bottom of the list here. So we'll just, you can double click on any of these places you've saved and it'll take you directly to those places on the map. A very handy function. All right, so now we've done a simple line. Now we'll go back and I'll show you how to do if you want to find out like a total path length. So we'll do something like this. We'll go from, say, this intersection to this intersection, and then over here is the Red Hook High School, so we'll come across from the road intersection to the next intersection, and we'll come into the high school, and we'll come into the parking lot, and we'll come up to the school. Obviously, I'm not sticking to exactly the road lines, but you get the idea. And And so now you can see we have a total of 1,830 feet in this pathway. We'll save this pathway as St. Chris to high school. Again, you can change the style and color to whatever you like. Say we'll give it a green style. So we have a green line going now. You can look at measurements, and anytime you want, you can look at altitude and or view. You can change tilts and headings and that kind of stuff. So if you want the default view for this place to be from a different angle than overhead, you can set that. We're not gonna mess with that right now. But the real simple way to do that, I guess I'll just show you real quick, is you'd hit snapshot current view, and you notice it imports, the heading that you're at, the tilt that you're at, the latitude, the longitude, etc. So we'll say OK. Now we've saved that. And now anytime we want to go back to that, we can do that. And you can also right click on this line, and you're able to delete, rename it. You can save it to My Places. You can email it to somebody. You can take a snapshot, and you can show elevation profile. And you can also look at properties, which will bring you back to this menu. And then you can look at things like measurements. And you notice it defaults to miles, but if you want to look at it in feet or yards or whatever, you can. So that's that. Now, I guess we'll just take a look at elevation profile. Elevation profile is a really handy tool, especially if you're into radio. I think what I'll do here is we'll create a line, just a single line, and we'll run it, say, from the high school in Red Hook to, say, the top of a mountain over here. I don't know, pick a mountain, right? We'll go to Wyndham. We'll go to the ski area, Wyndham. Okay, and you can see that that's 149,000 feet or 28 miles. We'll just save it real quick. We'll call it line HS to Wyndham. Okay, now here's the cool part. That line that we just drew across here, we can look at the elevation profile, and that simply by right clicking on the line and then going down to show elevation profile. And now you can look at the elevation profile from point A to point B. And so this way, if you were here at the high school trying to transmit a radio signal by VHF, say, to this point here, you would look and you'd see this giant mountain in the way, and you'd know that it's pretty unlikely you'd be able to get a signal there. But yet, if you had a repeater up here or another radio station here, you'd probably be able to go through that. So it's really handy for that sort of stuff. But you'll notice it also tells you the total range distance, elevation gained and lost, the maximum slope, which would be like right here. And as you follow along this line, you can see what the slope percentage is, how far you are from the start to where you're at. Like you can see on the bottom here, it's 34.5% slope at this point. The elevation is 1,941 feet, and we're 13.4 miles from the start point. And then it also tells you up here, it tells you what the average slope is. It gives you a bunch of excellent information. And you'll notice as you go along this line that the arrow, the big red arrow up there, shows you where you are on the map. This is a really handy tool for designing anything from your homestead to radio stations, or actually even if you would have self coverage in an area, if you were in the mountains and you were in a spot like this, you would know if the cell tower is over here, you wouldn't be able to get to it, that kind of thing. So elevation profile is a very, very handy tool. Let's see. There are some other nice features here. One is historical, and that's right here, this little clock with the arrow. You see it says show historical imagery. We'll click on that, and now you can see that you can scroll here back through all the satellite image data that's been taken over time. And actually what we'll do is we'll go back to the high school, and I forget when all the upgrades and additions were done to the high school, but I know a lot of additions have been done to the high school. A lot of changes have been made over the years, and we're looking at 2004 right now here on the timeline. And if we roll forward to the last time imagery was taken in 2016, you'll see it's quite different. So let's just roll back to 2004 again, and then back forward again. And you can see things have changed here. And you can even see how much the orchard has grown here, this apple orchard next to it. So that's a really handy tool, and I forget how far back it goes, but we'll go back and look at we'll look at 1995. You can see how much lower resolution, and this was actually black and white imagery we had back in 1995 compared to the imagery in 2016. Let's see if we can go forward a little more. And you'll see these lines here are where the image snapshots are taken. So anything between those, you're not really going to see any change in the imagery. But if we go forward to 2004, you can see now we've got color imagery here. So this historical timeline is very handy. If you don't want to play with that anymore, you can drop it. Also, you can set the end date that you want to play with, time zones, all sorts of other additional features. Anyway, if you're done playing with that, you can just X out up here, and that drops that out. Another cool feature is time of day, daylight, right? So right now it's 5:23 p.m. on February 29th, 2020. And you can see the sun is starting to go down, it's starting to get dark. But this gives you a great way to see how the light, how the map looks in light, dark, and time of year. So this is really great if you've never been to, say, somewhere way north. Here, we'll zoom way out, and we'll go somewhere way far north. We'll go up into Canada, up by, say, Hudson Bay, and we'll do the timeline on that here for time of day. Look at that, it's getting dark out. It's not even 4 p.m. It's starting to get dark there. And then as a comparison, we'll go way south toward the equator. We'll go down to, I don't know, say South America somewhere, say Colombia, right? And we'll have a look at the daylight in Colombia. So it doesn't start getting dark there until, if I can get this mouse to cooperate. Looks like it switches over around, oh, I messed up the date here. Yeah, that's the other thing, you can change the date you're looking at it on. We're looking at it from March 2nd, but yeah, it looks like it's getting dark around 5:30, going for 6. So you can see the difference in that. And like I said, anytime you want to go back to where you were, you can just double click on your saved place, and Google Earth will send you right back there. Of course, you can drop out of this menu, just simply hit the X, and you're out. You're back in normal imagery. Let's see, I think we did the ruler. Oh, yeah, I guess we'll just go over this real quick. You can actually look at the sky, too, anytime you want. And now this one I'm much less familiar with, so I'm not going to go into great detail on it. But you can see, you can go and look at other galaxies and stars. And you can really explore, outside the world if you want. You can also go to Mars or the Moon. There we go, loading Mars. There you go. So now we're looking at Mars. I personally have no desire to Mars. I think we got no business going to another planet and trying to inhabit it when we can't even care for the one we have. But it's a pretty interesting tool to be able to go and explore another planet right live, and to be able to scroll and move around and measure things and look at things. So it's kind of a cool option to have. We'll just jump over to the moon real quick. You know, no big deal, just 250 to 400,000 miles away from the Earth. And we're there in seconds. Isn't that nice? Elon Musk hasn't quite gotten us there yet, huh? Anyway, you can go and explore other planets if you want. So that's kind of a cool tool. I guess another thing we'll go into here. Let me get it back. We'll go back to our previous demonstration line here. You can add polygons. This is handy for calculating the area. So like, say you wanted to figure out what the area of, say, the high school track is. Obviously, the more precision you use for making this polygon, the more accurate your information will be. But we'll just say we're gonna just generally get an idea what this area is. You basically just kind of draw your line around, and you'll notice that polygon closes back to your starting point. And you can just kind of build that out to basically mimic the track. And then you can look at measurements. You can see the perimeter. Again, you can have that in any unit of measurement you want. And obviously square miles is way too big for that. But we'll look at square feet. It's 134,000 square feet. That's about 3 acres. Or so, yeah, 3.1 acres. So that's a very handy tool for measuring the area of an area. If you're looking at buying property or something, you might find that very handy for determining, you know, how big a piece of property is. What else? Obviously, you can snapshot all this kind of stuff as well. You can pick different colors and styles. Here, we'll just throw a different color on it. For line, that's the outside perimeter line, and we'll give the area another color, say bluish. There you go. Now it looks like a pond. Okay, so that's a very handy tool as well. Let's see, that's the path tool. Oh, you can overlay images on here. I don't think I'm going to go into anything quite that complex. This is kind of a beginner's tutorial. And I think I've covered most of the little pieces. Obviously, you can email stuff. You'll have to set up your email, but I guess I'll just go through this real quick. And then, of course, it wants to use your email account and how you send your file. So obviously, you'd have to set that up. I'm not going to do that in this. I don't have any need for that. Personally, I usually use a screenshot program called Snagit, and I like that because I can select a piece of an image if I want and use it for that. There are many other things you can do inside of Google Earth, but this should get you started on a beginner's tool. And I guess real briefly, I should take you in and show you how to use the angle tool a bit. Let's see. We'll just take you in. So you can go in and you can adjust the angle you're viewing from, say, directly overhead to, like, if you're looking across, right? And that gives you like a different perspective. And that's all right up here in this navigation tool. And of course you can, you know, as though you were sitting in that spot and turning all different directions. And then anytime you want to get back to your normal view, you can. This one is tricky. The other thing I find that's very handy, if you get like your view skewed and you want to get back to overhead, you can just go back and hit any one of your marked points and it'll take you back to the overhead view. I should mention, if you zoom in too far, Google Earth will usually start to change your perspective. Although I think I turned that off, but I think by default it will start to give you that tilted view like I was showing you. But saving spots like I was talking about before, let's just go back to a tilt view again here, and I'll show you how you can like save that angle quick, because it might be something you want to do here. So you can pick any angle you want, and then you can just go and snapshot it by, say, we'll just mark it. We'll call it angled view, save. And then you move over to view and snapshot current view, and then OK. So then now we'll go back to our untitled polygon. You'll see that puts us back to the overhead perspective. And then anytime we want to go to that angled view, we just double click it, and it takes us right back to that view, orientation, everything. So I hope you can see this is a really powerful tool for exploring the Earth, measuring things, looking at elevations. There are so many things you can do with this. I just wanted this to be sort of an introductory course. I have people ask me questions quite frequently about, how do you figure out this and how do you figure out that when it comes to land and GIS and topology and radio propagation and that sort of stuff. This is one of my most powerful tools that I use, and it's free, and that's really nice. So I hope you found this interesting or informative. If you have questions, please do so down below. I always try to answer questions in the comments, and I hope you'll like, share, subscribe, and check back for future videos. Thanks for watching the Pharmacy Seeds Network, and I hope we'll see you soon.